Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra, product manager here at Novoresume, and I will take you through a couple of slides about optimizing your LinkedIn profile, and I will also share an intro guide to thought leadership. Without further ado, I want to start by talking about the mindset. How do you improve your LinkedIn profile? Well, first of all, LinkedIn is not your resume. You want to use the opportunity of writing a resume to make it as tailored as possible for the job that you're applying for the job of your dreams. You might decide to write a resume specific to a field or specific to a position. However, LinkedIn is a general overview of your career development. There's a lot of space there, there's a lot of opportunity to shine. Very importantly, you have to remember that you really want to make your LinkedIn profile sing. You want to speak to the impact that you've had, the initiatives that you've started, the projects that you've done extra than your work, than your daily work. You also want to talk about the initiatives that you had and some of the results that you brought in. This is very important because if you've clearly articulated the impact and the results, you can then explain how you got there. And this is very valuable for whoever follows your profile. So make sure that you have this mindset when you think about your LinkedIn profile. Our advice is to take advantage of this space and since it's definitely more space than in a resume, try to use it to share your knowledge and some of your experience. Best practices for setting up your LinkedIn profile. Well, the first thing is make yourself easy to find. It's very important that you look at the URL and that you have a personalized URL with your name and last name. If that's taken, you can put your middle name in. If that's taken, you can find maybe a number that's relevant for you. Why am I saying this? We've all created LinkedIn maybe a couple of years back, and maybe we've used some nicknames that now are maybe a bit odd. So make sure that you look at your LinkedIn URL and it reflects a professional view on you, your name. Also, you have the option to select what elements of your profile can be viewed by different LinkedIn connections. My recommendation is to have your LinkedIn public because if you're applying and you're using your LinkedIn URL in your job applications, your resume, then it's very easy for recruiters to find it. Otherwise, you will only focus on the contacts that you have on LinkedIn, and maybe that's not very easy for you to be found. So make sure that you take this into account. Perfect your LinkedIn profile content. That's something that I don't think it's easy, but I definitely think that is not the hardest to do. You really want to pay attention to your profile picture. It needs to be clear, professional, and only include you. There's something very professional about having a setup where you have a headshot because according to LinkedIn, profiles with headshots are 14 times more likely to be viewed than those without headshots. So first of all, you want the picture, you want the headshot, and you want it to be clear and professional. The second thing is that if you haven't uploaded a new picture of you, you might go to an interview and you might look a bit different. So it's very important that when you meet people or when you interact with people, you kind of reflect who you are now. Likewise, you can add a cover photo that represents your profile or the company that you work for. Remember that it grabs people's attention, it sets the context and shows a little bit more about what matters to you. Very important as well is to update your LinkedIn contact info. Well, you don't want to overlook the importance of the simple information. Why? Because, you may not want to include your phone number or direct email because you might be contacted by people you don't want to be contacted. But you should definitely look at the visibility restricts that you have. So make sure you check that. Lastly, you want to update your LinkedIn summary, and this is a very important part of your profile. I'm keen to talk about this because I know that it's maybe a part of your profile that is overlooked sometimes, but it's very important that after the headline, you actually have your summary updated because as a person that doesn't know you and ends up on your profile, I will read what's in that description. And I want it to be clear and focused on who you are as a professional. This is your chance to put emphasis on your experience and expertise. So start with a strong opening statement. This is the overview of your profile. Add context to your career story. This shows who you are as an experienced professional. Share your current responsibilities. Tell me what you do now. Tell me what is your day-to-day activity and how are you helping the company right now, the company that you work for. Or if you're a student, tell me more about some of the projects that you're working on or some of the things that you're trying to become better at. And lastly, share your accomplishments. If you've managed to bring some revenue, or bring some very important value within the company, even though if even if you cannot say specifically what, or even if you cannot say something too detailed, you could talk about your accomplishments. And I do recommend that you use numbers. This is very, very important. There's a difference between experience and expertise, and I wanted to put an emphasis on sharing your expertise, because by doing this and following a structure, you do share your expertise. So you basically share how you have an expert skill or knowledge in a particular field, because it can be understood from the context. So make sure that you think about those ideas when you write. Decision making. Um, I hope this is relevant, but I found this number that I thought it was interesting. We make 226.7 decisions every day on food alone. This is a number from the North Carolina Science Now study from 2020. That means that when I visit the profile, I only need a couple of seconds to decide whether I want to continue to look at this profile or not. So make sure you use all these opportunities to shine and give it some thought. I know you probably think that the summary is something very general, but try to do a couple of drafts. Try to talk with your peers and see what they write about themselves and their experience, because it is relevant. When it comes to buzzwords as well, there are a lot of buzzwords like passionate, or specialized, focused, strategic. I'm not saying you shouldn't use those. You should. Definitely, they're words that describe your experience, and it's very, very professional. It sounds very professional. However, try to also give some context on who you really are and what are your passions, and you can even mention how some of these experiences have brought you to focus on the field that you're focusing on now. Very important is that your summary is your chance to tell your own story. So don't use it just to list your skills or the job titles you've had. Just try to bring to life why those skills matter to you and the difference they can make to people's lives. That would really give you an edge. Get endorsements and recommendations. I really wanted to show you these two screenshots because I think sometimes we don't really realize how important this part is. Endorsement means that you have a set of skills that you've added yourself, and then you get upvoted, something like that, right? So I've given here a print screen of skills and endorsements. Skills are the ones that I added. We can add up to 50 skills on LinkedIn, and endorsements are basically upvotes from others from my network that have decided to upvote by one each of those skills. So this is a relevant part where you can add some of the skills from your courses, from your experience, from the tech knowledge that you've had, and you can use that to actually match for different jobs. And what I did here is that I shared with you a print screen with the applicant rank. So once you have premium, you can see that when you apply for a job or when you open a job description on LinkedIn, you can see how you rank compared to the other people that have applied. And why is that? Because the algorithm matches you based on the skills that you've added in the skills and endorsements section. So for example, for this product management job that I actually added for the purpose of this webinar, you can see that I'm top 25% of 167 applicants. That means that I have, 7 out of 10 skills that I've added there. Those are skills that I've added myself, right? So I put all those keywords there. If you don't know what to add, and if you want to focus on a specific field, you can easily look at some jobs and try to understand what type of keywords you should add. I'm not saying to copy them. I'm saying to just make a honest assessment on what you can add on your profile that still looks like, it's something that you can actually do. You want to make it relevant for recruiters this way, because, as I've said, the platform matches your skills with the automatic updates on, percentage of you matching that job. When it comes to recommendations, I definitely advise you to ask for recommendations from previous colleagues, from peers, managers, collaborators. Some of you asked, where can I find or how can I ask for recommendations? Where you should definitely think of people that you've developed a good relationship with, a good working relationship with in the past. And when you edit your profile, there's actually a link to click that says ask for recommendations. So you can actually send a template to somebody in your network saying, Please recommend me here. And then they have a link to your profile where they can write a recommendation. So, you can obviously try to discuss with them before and see if they would be open to that. And if they are, send them that request yourself so that they see it in their inbox on LinkedIn, and remember to recommend you. Now, another thing that I wanted to say is that you want to make this area genuine. So don't start asking everybody in your network to endorse you for a few skills, and maybe try to make a close group of peers that have similar, that are similar parts of their parts of their life, and you can kind of help each other. You also don't want to make it too unprofessional by trying to ask everybody in network to endorse you for something if they don't know you. So try to keep it to people you know, and in time you will actually develop this network, and you will be able to continue improving your profile. Build your LinkedIn network is the next step. So I'm one of those people that actually add a lot of people on LinkedIn. I add peers, and I like to connect with many people in my field that I think are very relevant for what I'm doing. Right. I create an audience by using the note. I always connect with new users. I share a personalized message almost every time. I keep it relevant and professional. This is an example that I sent to Andre when I reconnected with him, and I said, "Hello, Andre. I would like to add you to my network and explore future opportunities in the tech field." This is something very general, very standard. You can use something different depending on the relationship that you've had with that person, or basically depending on some of the things that you have experienced in that field. If you've read a book or if you read an article from that person, you can try to share some of the gratitude of them sharing that and saying, "Thank you for sharing that. I actually enjoy the reading." Be open to new connections and share, like, comment weekly to content you find interesting. This is a way for you to get out there, create an audience, create a network, become the person that always supports others. And it's not hard to do, but it takes time. So obviously um, you want to be genuine, and you want to also invest a bit in others people's posts. Um, you know Following relevant influencers, that's another tip that I wanted to say. Following relevant influencers helps you put a range of interesting content in your feed, and then you can share that with others when you think it adds value. It can also help you give context to your LinkedIn profile. You can then comment on others posts about different articles. So you always want to try to build your network by engaging with others. The next thing would be, after doing this, you will be able to build a thought leadership profile. What does that mean? A thought leader is somebody that really becomes an expert in a field by sharing value and helping others with its knowledge. So, thought leadership is an emerging concept tackled online. Knowledge sharing, it's critical in establishing a brand, and your stakeholders are actively engaged and want to hear your message. These are some ideas that I put together, but look at the numbers. Okay, these are numbers from LinkedIn from 2017, but I think they're as relevant as ever. When people engage with thought leadership, they say the following thing: "I gave the organization my contact information." 44% of decision makers and 55% of C-suite executives. Then I reached out to the organization to follow up. 31% business decision makers and 42 C-levels. So you see, people like to interact with thought leadership content. They want to see you as somebody who shares value to the network, and they would follow you. And it's very, very relevant for B2B as well. So make sure you think about that when you start sharing content or when you start engaging with content. And lastly, we invited the organization to propose a project. So see, by being out there and by sharing how you can bring value to a network or to a community, you can even get sales opportunities. So very important to think about thought leadership as something you can do yourself by sharing knowledge in your community. Thought leadership best practices. This comes from LinkedIn. These are pieces of information that I thought are very relevant to share with you. How to posts and list posts are heavily shared. Type of content. The most shared content is 1,000 to 2,000 words long. Ideally, it would be to vary the format. You can use videos, article, guides, infographics. Repetition is key. You can reuse the content. Why did I put that there? Well, I've had myself some situations where I had a long format piece of content, and then I could reuse some of the key learnings and share it again in with more examples. So I go deeper on each of the key learnings, for example. So that's very, very interesting, because then it will really help you, connect with your key audience by reminding them what you really work towards, or what's your field. And then you can reuse some of that information and remind them about why is this so important. Well, because, as I've said, one of the key lessons is this and this and this. So make sure you make use of that. Mention people. You can use and mention people in post, shares, and articles. That's very, very helpful for you. It gives you a lot of visibility, and also your connections will see this mention. You also want to give credit and links to sources of your data and statements, always. Break up your articles with paragraphs and subtitles. This makes it easy to read. And you want to keep your tone neutral. And of course, ask for comments or feedback. You always want to learn from your network. I hope this makes sense so far. Sharing content. Well, I put here 3 pieces of advice on how to share content. Obviously, you will find more about strategies, but this is something that worked for me, and this is something that I think it's very valuable for people to know. Posting strategically is the first thing. You want to post usually around the same days, or in the same days that you usually post, and think about timing. You also want to think about what your audience would like to hear about, and what would fit your brand strategy. 60% of users are interested in posts about industry insights. Again, Edelman and LinkedIn. Insider knowledge is another type of content that you can use. So share personal stories and talk about your experience and give advice based on the results that you've gotten. And this is very useful for the community, and it will also help you build a thought leader profile. Writing original articles is another thing. Some of you ask me how to build a profile when I don't really have a lot of experience. Well, one of the things that I discovered, and also others have told me, is that documenting your experience in a specific industry or project, it's the first step, because it's easy to do and you're already possessing that information. It's fresh. You've maybe done some projects in school that you can actually get some conclusions from, and then you can put that all online. So this is something you can do even if you don't have a lot of experience. Then you want to communicate what you want to be known for. Obviously, don't say I want to be known for this, but try to focus on that field most of the times, and talk about it very much, and do research and read and share your knowledge in that field. And people will consider, okay, this is the person that talks a lot about career advice, thought leadership, career building, and so on. This is something that works, and obviously it takes time, but you should definitely start if this is something that you consider for your profile. Lastly, use video marketing. We have here another piece of advice from another piece of information, from LinkedIn. In 1 year, LinkedIn video post generated more than 300 million impressions on the platform. A huge setup here, a huge stage. You can promote upcoming projects or initiatives. You can put essential information up front, provide in-depth insights, and obviously try to finish with a strong CTA. A CTA is a call to action. So, for example, you can ask at the end, what other books have you enjoyed in this industry? Or what other results have yielded based on this experiment that you've done? And this can be very, very nicely put, so people will engage with your content. Share media and marketing collateral. So, for example, something that you can do is to produce your business, some of the things that you produce for a business to engage people with your business. You can put it up and share it as, free guides or free pieces of content that people can download. This is quite popular, and I think a lot of people enjoy when they get something in a nice form, so to speak. Lastly, key learnings. I want to make sure I mention this towards the end, because something that I came to realize after doing a lot of posts on LinkedIn, and after trying to engage with different peers, is that my understanding brings value to others. So what is usual to you is a treasure to someone else. So don't underestimate what you do or what you believe about a subject. Obviously, it needs to be research and it needs to come from a place of professionalism and just quality content generally. But don't underestimate what the value that you can bring to the community. The second thing is that your brand is your opportunity to be thought as the go-to person in your field. And a tip from me would be to find out what people think about you, because you probably already have a brand. So try to figure that out. Ask your peers, ask people in your network, and I'm sure that you will get a lot of information from there. Lastly, as you evolve as a person, you want to make sure your brand grows with you. So, keep refining your brand to ensure that it aligns with your achievements and goals. This is something that I definitely recommend. You want to overhaul your profile once in a while. Look at peers' descriptions and try to create a compelling profile that others will understand and connect with. I hope you found this information interesting, and also obviously useful. I hope you will be able to start working on optimizing your profile, and you will consider thought leadership, because it's definitely something that all of us can do if we give it the necessary amount of time, and if we invest in research. That's something that I truly believe. And if you're in this webinar, it means that you're interested in this, and that you want to use LinkedIn to, either enhance your profile or find a new job. And the truth is that every time I see that people are giving value to the network by sharing pieces of content or by sharing their opinion, researched and really in-depth knowledge, I always appreciate it, and I always interact with that content. So think about that the next time you comment or post something. People really appreciate it, and you will see the results in a few months. Now, to conclude, you've heard Andre talk about the fact that your resume should be tailored for each job accordingly. You heard me that your LinkedIn profile should tell a bigger story. So from our side, this is how we decided to cover these two parts of finding a new job or enhancing your profile for the next adventure for you. Now, these are only a few parts of actually what we wanted to share with you. So, the surprise is that we've prepared an ebook for you. And we've prepared this ebook over a couple of months. We hope you will enjoy it. This is something that everybody in this webinar will have access to. I think now it's available. So look under handouts and get your copy right now. Some of the topics that we've included in this ebook is, how to create a resume and how to match your resume with a cover letter, but also tips about interview and interviewing generally, and how to ace your interview, and how to hack your job search in 2020. This is something that we really wanted to share with you as soon as possible. This is the setup. This is what we've decided to do. Have this webinar, give you some pieces of info, and then allow you to download this ebook for free. Tell your friends about it. It will be available tomorrow everywhere, and you will soon see it on our website as well. Make sure you download it now. It's available for download. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation.